Hello and welcome to the third and the Don Football Show. I am Joe. With me is Cecil. As always, we are here to recap the conference championship round of the playoffs and then preview the Super Bowl. We have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to get into it all. Cecil, we had a little bit of a bad Sunday a couple Sundays ago now. We expected the Bengals to be in the Super Bowl. But otherwise, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm still in mourning, but that's okay. Still a lot to talk about, and still a good season for them. But other than that, I'm great. Ready to talk about a little bit of the Super Bowl.
I am as well. So we're gonna start it off with our recap as always, and then we'll maybe talk about some other things in between, and then we'll do our pick for the Super Bowl to kind of end things on a good note. We'll start off with the NFC Championship game, Cease. The Eagles demolished the 49ers. They looked like they were winning up front, so it may not have mattered as much that Brock Purdy tore his UCL during the game, and then he gets taken out of the game. Josh Johnson then goes in the game, a guy who's been a journeyman backup forever. He gets hurt. They put Brock Purdy back in the game, but this is a spoiler alert for anyone out there. You can't throw with a torn UCL. He did complete one pass, which is impressive, but it was all downhill from there. Like this was just the Eagles' domination once they were able to figure out, hey, we just stopped the run now because Brock Purdy's out. They were able to get the win, 31-7. It was very anticlimactic. It was just after that injury, it was kind of how many quarterbacks can you go down and still win was kind of the situation for the 49ers.
Right. I mean, that's really what it came down to there. I mean, we're talking about a team that was on its third string quarterback, and then he injures his UCL, can't throw literally at all. So I mean, the 49ers, you're right. Like, the Eagles looked pretty good, even before that point. They were winning a lot at the line of scrimmage. So it's a good chance they're going to win the game anyway. But, I mean, it is very anticlimactic. Everyone hates injuries, especially the quarterback position. That's why the NFL has put so much of an emphasis on protecting quarterbacks overall, is because when your quarterbacks start going down, the quality of the game goes down. And, the 49ers really had some bad luck this year when it came to quarterback injuries, but they also showed they have a lot of depth. And that's really hands off to the front office and to the coaching staff to get guys ready. So their season is obviously over. They have a lot to think about come this offseason about what their quarterback plan is going forward. I don't think anyone knows. All we know is Jimmy Garoppolo will not be back. That's pretty much all Kyle Shannon has told us so far. And the Eagles are on to the Super Bowl, and I mean they look completely healthy. They have all of their starters from week one, healthy right now, playing, and they're going to play in the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, you're right about that. Jimmy Garoppolo is the only thing they've really confirmed about the roster for next year is that he's not going to be back, which is good for him and good for the league too, because it looks like they might have something with Brock Purdy. It also you get Trey Lance back. That definitely affects things. And there's a lot more open spots for quarterbacks this offseason. We're going to get to that in a little bit here too. Good run for the 49ers and maybe the best all-around team, but it just shows you how important that quarterback position when you go three down and then the fourth quarterback and then go put a third quarterback back in the game. And, I would have liked to see more Wildcat with Christian McCaffrey and him throwing the ball too at a certain point, but at the end of the day, you're kind of screwed. It's like when they didn't give any backup reps to Jim Sorgi with the Indianapolis Colts back when Peyton Manning played because they're like, if Peyton gets hurt, we're kind of screwed anyway. There's nothing you can do in that situation. So hopefully the NFL can do something to like have three quarterbacks dress a lot more for some of these teams. Maybe not use a roster spot, but your third quarterback gets to dress in case of emergency, or maybe some of these new leagues coming up in the spring season, maybe they start generating more quarterbacks so there's more options to go to. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that was one of the worst conference championship games we've seen in a while.
I can't believe you brought up a Jim Sorchi reference. Now that's dated.
Hey, someone's got to do it.
Somebody's been busting out Madden '03 on me.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, see, the game we don't want to talk about. The Chiefs beat the Bengals 23-20, and this was a game where the Chiefs went up early. The Bengals come back, and there were some interesting calls in the fourth quarter. But the game came down to, you know, Joseph Osai pushing Patrick Mahomes out of bounds. He had taken like maybe a step out of bounds, maybe step and a half, pushed him out of bounds. It was unnecessary roughness as kind of obviously it usually is. And that gives him 15 yards to kick a field goal and win the game. It was a really, really good matchup otherwise, but it just seemed like, in my opinion, and a little bit biased here, it seemed like they were maybe holding in the whistles for the Bengals and kind of blowing some of the whistles for the Chiefs. That late hit was a late hit, so I'll give them credit that was right. It would call it 100 times out of 100 on at least any quarterback. But it's frustrating to see that, and I guess the Bengals can't really complain. They had their opportunities to win. Other than that, it was just every single whistle down the stretch was going towards the Chiefs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: the officiating was not very good. It was very. It seemed one-sided at times. It just seemed like there were a lot of just no calls on things, some calls on the Bengals that I wouldn't really call usually in a game. I think, but at the end of the day, the Bengals had every opportunity. They had the ball with about 2 minutes left to go down and score and win the game. They didn't do it that this time. They gave the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. They have a heck of a punt return there as well. That really kind of puts Patrick Mahomes 20 to 30 yards from field goal range with all the time he needs, all that stuff. I mean, he uses his legs, in a gutsy way. So I mean, I'll give the Chiefs this. The Chris Jones played very, very well, like phenomenal. Absolutely just demolished the Bengals offensive line on every play it felt like. He was in on every big play that defense had. He was creating pressure, and the Bengals patchwork backup offensive linemen just weren't able to hold it together. I think if you're gonna see really what cost the Bengals this game, ultimately, I'm not gonna say officiating. I'm gonna say, and I'm not gonna really say the Osai personal foul because it's going to be called every time, sure, but you're putting yourself in a place where that's still not happening. It's still a first down. There's still plenty of time for them to complete another pass or so, and get the yardage they need. So I don't know how much of that ended up changing the game in the first place, but I mean. There are times where drives stalled out that were looking pretty promising because Joe Burrow had to keep taking sacks because Chris Jones was in the backfield within a couple seconds. Um, the rest, that was a big part. The line itself, besides that kind of right into, that right side that was mostly just backups in. The left side did all right. There were some bonehead moves by Jackson Carman at left tackle, some pass offs that didn't really work and, weren't really the right call at that time. But, if you're a Bengals fan, it's hard to get that upset with this season considering how we started how things went throughout, and then you see all the injuries that happened in the offensive line within the last 3 weeks of the regular season. That's hard to come back from. We saw Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl 3 years ago against Tampa Bay, where his whole offensive line got hurt between the end of the season and the playoffs, and he got blown up for an entire Super Bowl. I don't know how many offensive linemen for the Bengals are coming back, but I don't want to watch that against the Eagles either. I don't want to watch just completely getting blown up like last year's Super Bowl. So I think this is a time to reflect. I think there's still a lot of pieces returning. There's a lot of things the Bengals still have and can have going forward. How will the coaching staff look? We don't know at this point, but I mean the Chiefs played a good game. Patrick Mahomes had a really good game despite everything, despite the injury, and the refs maybe gave him way too many chances, like that 3 third downs. I don't think I'll ever quite understand what was going on there. Um, you can't just keep having late call whistles. I get that like the field is loud, but we're watching entire plays play out, and I don't see refs running around trying to stop the play. I see the whole play get completed, and then after the fact, the ref says that it wasn't ready because of some timing issue or just some minuscule thing that no one cares about. And the Bengals stopped them each time in that major drive in the fourth quarter. But the problem, reality is, why did that have to happen that way when it very well it shouldn't? Like it's mind-boggling. It's dumb, and there's just no reason for it. Sloppy game. I think the Bengals and Chiefs are going to be the kind of the top tier along with Buffalo in this conference for a while. It doesn't seem like that's going to change. And the Bengals won 3 in a row against them. The Chiefs have gotten their one. So, I mean, at this point, we can at least stop worrying about the whole odds thing that, we can't just continually beat them every time. It's just a weird statistical thing. And, I mean, this is just the one we wanted, but we just didn't get it in the end.
You're right. If I had to point to something that really affected the game, it was the injuries on the offensive line. That if you had to pin a reason on why this happened, it was the offensive line's injuries. Burrow was pressured on 39% of his dropbacks. Cease. KC blitzed only 17% of the time, so they're getting through with 4, and I believe their average rush time was 2.3 or 2.4 seconds. Like that's basically a turnstile. Like you don't even get stopped if it's 2.4. So that's really frustrating to see. And I'm with you. I do think that it's them and the Bills and the Chiefs for the foreseeable future in the next couple of years in the AFC. And next year might be a year you want to take put a little bit more importance on maybe the early part of the season, getting that number 1 seed, getting to host a home AFC championship because. You're basically going to have a lot of people back. You're going to have maybe the 2 safeties to worry about. You're going to have Jermaine Pratt to worry about, Hayden Hurst on offense. But everyone else is at least under contract. Whatever moves you make outside of that, you can change things up if you want. But you have a lot to potentially get right with this team in the offseason. And it's disappointing. I know a lot of people are speculating about T. Higgins' trade. It's not going to happen. He's got 1 more year on his rookie deal next year. And then they'll tag him if they have to. But they're not going to trade him when they have a chance for a Super Bowl this upcoming year. And they have money to spend, too. Yes, they got a Burrow deal to get done, but there's ways they can save money this offseason and still get like a couple impact free agents as well. So while it didn't happen this year for the Bengals, I think some years it's just not meant to be, and this year that's what it was with the injuries. And next year it might be that year it's meant to be with everything, with Burrow still on a rookie contract. Even when he does sign that extension, the money is still from the 5th-year option. So a lot of potential for this Bengals team. I know Bengals fans, me and Cease were disappointed, but I think there's still a lot to be thankful for if you're a Bengals fan, a lot to look forward to. All right, so other news. Cecil, Tom Brady decides to retire for the 2nd straight season. We'll see if this holds up. It seems like this one's for real, but the Buccaneers weren't very good anymore. He'd have to change teams most likely if he came back. He could come back for the Bucks, but then you're playing the game of like how good are they going to be? 7 Super Bowl championships. He has a lot of stats that he is the leader in. First ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know what else we can say about him. He just accomplished everything he could have.
Right. I mean, when we talk about Tom Brady, I mean, he's the greatest of all time. We know that. We knew that going into this, season. When he came out of retirement, both you and I said it looks like it's going to be a mistake. The team's not getting any better. The team kind of started to break up. Like free agents left and people who may have not left the Tampa Bay Buccaneers left because Tom Brady had retired. And then he decides to unretire at the very last second where people were already signing deals because it's the tampering period of free agency. So, this season being such a disaster, sure, the injuries, part of it's on Tom Brady too for, waffling through it. Again, you can't just retire and then right the very last second decide I'm going back in. It's probably not going to be a good decision. You push Bruce Arians out basically for no reason. You put Todd Bowles in, who's one of the most. I think he's a good locker room guy, but when it comes to decision making and aggressiveness, it's very underwhelming. He is an ultra conservative, defense minded kind of coach. And that was great when we had the defensive coordinator and he was there. But as a head coach, you need that kind of offensive firepower that Bruce Arians really brought and kind of built this team together with Tom Brady. Despite all the friction they had, it seemed to have worked out at the end of those 2 years. But regardless, he played. He still had a decent year. It wasn't the best year of his career. A lot of, passing yards, a lot of passing completions, a lot of things just to add on to some of his stats all the time. But, looking back on it, it didn't make sense for him to come back. I think he just didn't know what to do in retirement. And then 2, I think he just saw how weak the NFC South was. He thought he could have an easy road to the playoffs. And, he barely had to do anything to make the playoffs. But once he got there, there are teams out there just way more talented than the Bucs are currently constructed. So he's now retired. I think the Bucs will take those 3 years over what was going on before because they had, Jameis Winston before LASIK and a lot of interceptions, a lot of touchdowns. And they had a good core of players. And Tom Brady brought a lot of guys. And if you give me two really. I mean, you run me a Super Bowl in year one, get me to an tough NFC divisional round game in year two, and then year three, you still make the playoffs, still win the division. At age 45, I'd take that out of any quarterback. I mean, I'd take Tom Brady at any point in his career right now if I just, if I had a handful of guys, I'd still take 45-year-old Tom Brady in this year over probably the three-quarters of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean the stats proved it. They all these stat graphics that are popping up about how he had three different Hall of Fame careers, 100% true. Super Bowl wins go a long way in that, but stats kind of add up too, especially in the middle and later parts of his career. Once they became more of a throwing league, honestly. So yeah, he'll be enshrined in Canton 5 years from now. I don't think he's coming back. It seems like he's wants to focus on himself for a little bit. He's taking a year off, and then he'll join the Fox broadcast booth in 2024. So we'll see what happens there. But Cecil, J.J. Watt already retired. Tom Brady retired. This is going to be a loaded Hall of Fame class. We have A.J. Green retired yesterday, former Bengal and Cardinal. Don't know if he gets in the Hall of Fame, but he'll at least get some consideration. So it's like a little bit of an era has ended. I mean, we got one of these athletes that we grew up watching retiring, and we're now adults and everything. Well, at least an age number. But it does feel like an era is ending, and once LeBron James retires, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna have no one from our childhood left, so it's gonna be kind of weird.
It's true. I mean, all the great ones are out now. I mean, the NFL more than any league, I think, is in the best situation. I mean, they lucked out. They had the era of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. When Tom Brady was still been there, they also had people like Drew Brees, Philip Rivers. Aaron Rodgers kind of was there for a good minute as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Um, I mean, once Aaron Rodgers retires, which could be that could be now, that could be in 2 years. I don't know. It's coming soon. Um, that'll be the last quarterback I can remember really as a kid playing. Like just throughout teenage years, things like that. I think that's the end of them. Is Aaron Rodgers once he goes, that's it. That's all of them. And I mean, we're in a completely new era, which we already are. I mean, you have Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. You got Jalen Hurts. I mean, you've got some really great talent in the NFL, some great star quarterbacks you can market around, and I think Goodell will be happier than ever that he's lucky to have this talent youth bowl. Because let's be honest, the other leagues they have good talent, but they don't have the marketability or the star power that it seems the NFL has been able to get.
Yes, and you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. He said on the Pat McAfee show today that he is going to he's going to go to dark mode for 4 days. He's going to go to a dark house in the middle of nowhere, and I guess that means no internet, and he's going to hang out for 4 days just himself, and then make his decisions what he's going to do. Whether that's retire, get traded, come back to the Packers. I don't know. It's a lot up in the air there. Our Packers fan at the game house has said he 100% believes he will not retire because he does not want to share his Hall of Fame induction with Tom Brady. That actually kind of tracks a little bit, so we'll see what happens with that. That's the other news from the NFL after Tom Brady and AJ Green retirements. But Cease, let's get to the Super Bowl preview here. We've got the Chiefs and Eagles. The line's moved a little bit over the last couple of days, but it's Eagles by 1.5 in this one. Game's in Arizona. Chiefs 14-3, Eagles 14-3. Seems like a pretty evenly thought of matchup.
Right. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win and cover in this. The big reason I saw is the Eagles are in much better health than the Chiefs are. And I think the Eagles have more talent all around the field. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. We all know that. That's not disputable. We're not going to get into the weeds there. But let's be honest. We looked in that Bengals-Chiefs game. Receivers were having trouble getting separation. Guys got hurt again. How close if they play, how healthy are they going to be? I don't know, but they also have to deal with a much tougher secondary than they had to deal with the Bengals. You have to deal with people like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You got to deal with Darius Slay. You got to deal with Bradbury and stuff like that. You've got really good guys that are able to play at a very high level. And, this thing with this Eagles team is a lot of these guys are going to leave after this year and sign huge contracts. But their GM put together a heck of a roster. He found trades. He found people who were just basically dumping people in the last years of their deals and just took them all in. Has made a really good all around team. It's like a Madden team. It feels like at points. Like they were able to just get people off the streets for next to nothing and just formulate this team. The only thing that's missing is really having a top 3 quarterback, and they're close. And honestly, what Nick Sirianni has done with this offense, with Jalen Hurts, makes them very dangerous. And really, they build an offense that plays the strengths of their quarterback. So I just think the Eagles will be able to beat them in a lot of different ways. The Chiefs' defense won't be able to hold up. I think the Eagles' offensive line is much better, and I think they're going to hold up against Chris Jones and the front, front four, the front seven of the Kansas City Chiefs. And between the receivers, and I just don't think there's enough talent on the Kansas City defense to really cover. And I think outside of Patrick Mahomes, I don't think there's going to be enough on offense, because I think Travis Kelce is definitely going to get a lot of attention paid to him. And then I don't think the offensive line of the Chiefs is going to be able to hold up as well against this relentless Eagles team with all the different pass rushers, all the rotations. I think the Chiefs are just going to be outmatched talent-wise. There's always a chance Patrick Mahomes goes off crazy and wins this game, sure, but I just think they're not going to be able to advance the ball and move it the way they think they want to, because they just don't have that big play element based off the inability of the receivers to get separation. Because let's be honest, Travis Kelce's great. He can move in space pretty well, but he's not going to just break off deep and just burn a bunch of guys, especially the caliber the Eagles are. So I think it's still going to be a really good game. It's going to be a close game. A lot of people are saying, a smart bet might be to just bet. I think it's 3-1 odds either way. The Chiefs or the Eagles win by 1 to 6 points. So, I think it's definitely going to be probably a 3 or 4 point game. So I think it's going to end up, and I think that's a pretty good bet if you're kind of looking for a good bet to kind of hedge and get something either way.
Well, heads or tails, Cease? Come on.
Tails never fails, bro.
All right, bet on tails. You heard it here first. There's a lot of prop bets out there, so have fun with those and Gatorade color and all that. Cease, I think your point about the Eagles having the best roster, maybe other than the 49ers, but like one of the better rosters in the league and kind of top to bottom, is 100% true. If you're looking at these rosters, the only position group where you're saying the Chiefs are better than the Eagles are, quarterback and tight end. Otherwise, it's pretty much Eagles everywhere else. They got some solid players on the defensive line for the Chiefs, whether it's Frank Clark or Chris Jones, but the Eagles have like a historic defensive line. But I'm going Chiefs, Cease. I really do think Patrick Mahomes is the difference here. We're going to find out if it's more about team or more about quarterback here. I think he's going to find Travis Kelce a lot. Every week we're told, people will stop him, and the Bengals, couldn't stop him either. It's like, we have guys like Trey Flowers. We have guys who can stop him. Logan Wilson in zone can kind of keep him close. Didn't happen. He did all that on one leg. He's got some time to heal up. That offensive line really protected him. I think that even though the Eagles have a better all-around team, I think the quarterback position does matter that much. And I think if the Chiefs can just focus on stopping the run and make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, I think that could be the difference in the game. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm taking the ball first, and I'm trying to go down the field and score and put points on the board and make them spread the ball out and go down the field. See if Nick Sirianni maybe makes a dumb fourth down decision to go for it on 4th and 5 like he sometimes has this year, or maybe try to go for 2, get people to jump off sides or whatever. Maybe it backfires. I think the coaching, coach, I would take Andy Reid over Nick Sirianni as well. I think those are just important. Coach, quarterback, tight end, I guess is not as much important, but there's important positions. And, I get maybe this is the wrong way to look at a game, Cease, but if you're going to tell me out of the last 10 champions, 2 of them would be the Eagles with totally different rosters besides maybe Lane Johnson and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, but the Chiefs weren't 2-time Super Bowl champions, I'd call you crazy. With how much that's a testament to what Howie Roseman has done. But I don't know. Part of it's just I think Patrick Mahomes gets another Super Bowl here, and if you're gonna say a quarterback's gonna win it for a team, no matter what he's going up against, Mahomes is probably that guy. So I'm going to go Chiefs to win. And obviously, with the points there, 1.5 points, they think it's going to be pretty even. But I understand your logic with the two C's because the Eagles do have the better roster overall. All right. Any final takes on the Super Bowl? Any final thoughts for the week, Cease?
Pro Bowl format is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Never want to see it again. Um, I don't even this stupid like a flag football game is just it's they think it's comical and it's like we're all laughing with them, but really we're just laughing at the NFL. I just don't understand how much longer we're going to keep this going. Jen Ramsey like laid out Tyreek Hill in a flag football game. I can't wait till they do this next year and somebody gets seriously hurt somehow, and we all just sit here and just go, "Why the hell do we keep doing this stupid game?" So
That was my hot take. I didn't love the format. I loved the flag football. It was so fun. We had guys who were like showing their personalities. We get to see the guys without helmets on. I guess I'll put it this way. I would like a game where there was pride on the line. I understand why there's not one. I would like a game where there's like something to play for, or like people have pride, like AFC versus NFC, like maybe they used to back in the early Pro Bowls. Uh, the Pro Bowls we got over the last 10 years were not worth watching. The flag football ones are better than those. And I guess it's a good solution to a problem. It's not maybe not the good solution, but it is a solution to a problem they have with the Pro Bowl. And I thought it was awesome. I was actually giving you my final thought. It was just I had so much fun watching these guys. The only part I didn't like, Cease, because so many people opt out and because people are injured, we had to watch Tyler Huntley in the Super Bowl. That's something we haven't, or in the Pro Bowl. That's something we didn't get a chance to talk about. He threw 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions this year, and I get that the AFC was weak at the quarterback position when you consider Pat Mahomes is in the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow opted out. Josh Allen opted out. Justin Herbert opted out. So the best quarterback was with Trevor Lawrence, and then they had Derek Carr and Tyler Huntley.
Derek Carr wasn't even like a member of the Raiders. Basically, he was like just
Yeah.
like some kind of crazy like we're in the Olympics or something and your whole country's banned, but Derek Carr is there like in the Raiders stadium, like just basically as a free agent, just hanging out, like just going, I'm here for whoever wants to trade for me. So
That flag football game was
ridiculous.
an audition for his next team.
I know.
But no, I found it enjoyable. I understand why other people did not, but I would like to see some changes to the format too. We need more. We get rid of all the stupid other stuff going on. Like the skills competitions with the quarterbacks, kind of cool. But like the in between flag football games, they were pushing weights off of a bar, and that was like a just no. Let's like do a flag football tournament or like have offensive linemen be like you have to have 2 offensive linemen on the field at one time, like and switch up the positions. Like make it freaking weird. Like just don't say like oh we want to do all these other competitions to get other positions involved. You know, they wouldn't be involved in a flag football game. No, just put them in the game. Like I would love to see. I don't know, Aaron Donald like have to play wide receiver against, just for instance, I don't know, Lane Johnson if he wasn't in the Super Bowl. You know, like I would love to see that. It'd be
No, do a lineman game. Do a lineman
yes.
flag football game.
Oh my God! You'll see how good a quarterback. Like all the linemen who say I can play quarterback. It's nothing. No, it's way harder being an offensive lineman. Like you might be right, but let's see you throw the ball. That'd be awesome. It did make me want to play NFL Street, which I know is impossible. But I was watching that when Jalen Ramsey took out Tyreek Hill, and they have some beef in the history, so that makes sense. But it made me want to play some NFL Street. Maybe we get an NFL Street game going, and just everyone's like, "Yeah, you just pay us like $20 million for this one game. We'll do it." Yeah.
Just get those power ups, you know? Gotta get the power ups.
All right. Well, that's our both of our final thought there, Cease. We thank everyone for watching this year. We'll be back, I think, next week to recap the Super Bowl, and then
Got a recap. We'll be here.
we recap the Super Bowl, and then we'll figure out our offseason schedule as always. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see everyone next week.